Hey everyone! So we're going to do a review on the Tim Holtz stamp platform and the MISTI stamp positioner. The first main difference is obviously the price point. This is more expensive, this is much cheaper. This one came out first and I have had it for a while, and then I bought this one just to see if it's better than this one, if it stamps better. So let's just check it out. Let's see the differences in these two, and we'll do some experimentation as well to see which works better. Now this one opens up like a book. This one flips over. Both of them come with two magnets, although I prefer the ones in the Tim Holtz because they're kind of lighter. I don't think they'll break that easily, and if they kind of join together, it's easier to pull them apart versus the MISTI ones, which are painful, and a lot of people have managed to break theirs trying to do that. Okay, so now one of the main differences that I feel, actually there are quite a few differences. One is that if you note, this is thicker, it's sturdier, it's not flexible at all, it's pretty hard. For this, it's pretty thin, it's a bit flimsy, and it's pretty flexible once you push down on it, so you can really kind of push down on this thing. Next are the margins. I prefer the margins for the MISTI. They're big, bold, visible. They're so much nicer. The ones on the Tim Holtz are pretty tiny and not as easy to see. Plus, you kind of have this in the middle. So, I don't know. I just really don't like the margins on this. The next thing, and this is something I really like on the Tim Holtz one, is the fact that it's flat from here. So if you put the paper here, it can hang off the edges and you can stamp. So you can just put a bigger size paper in this and you won't have an issue at all. Whereas with the MISTI, because it has this raised edge, you can't really have the paper going off the edge, because then it won't stamp perfectly because of the raised edge. The paper has to fit directly inside, or it has to be smaller, but it cannot be bigger. So that's a major disadvantage of the MISTI. Then both of them have this grid. This one's edged, but it's only on the top. You don't have any grid over here. Whereas in the MISTI, because I have an older version, this is actually a sticker on top, but the later version has a laser etching on the cover, so that's like much better, I'm sure, because this one kind of is now coming off from the edges and has air bubbles, so it's not as good, but that's not a fair comparison because this is an older version. So the one with the laser etching will be perfectly fine, I'm sure. Then one thing that I do like is the fact that you do have a grid inside, which lets you place your paper where you want to very easily. So this is actually a good thing. And this paper pad you can buy separately, and you can change the grid paper whenever you need to, but honestly mine is still, you know, it lasts a pretty long time. Depends on, you know, how soon you want to change the grid paper. In this you have no grid here, so that's a bit of a disadvantage between the two. Okay, so now one main thing is you can use both clear stamps and rubber stamps with these, but how you use them is completely different. For example, here you can, on this you can use the clear stamps on this, and then when you need to use the rubber stamps you remove this, and then you have this nice surface here. Personally, for me, I don't know why, but I find it very hard to remove this. It's kind of a mental block that I have, I think, although, you know, you just have to pick it up, right? For some reason, I never use this for rubber stamps. This one on the other hand is just so perfect. All you do is you take it off and you turn it around and you put it back in. And there you go. That's for rubber stamps. And how you can tell is it says rubber here. If this is up, then you know this is for rubber stamps. You take it back out, you flip it through, and here it says clear stamps. So you know, that's easy to do. So that's something I really like about this one. This one, I don't know, somehow I've literally never used it for rubber stamps, although I know it is easy, right? But just never happens for some reason. Okay, so now let's try out some stamping. Let's start with just one stamp, right? Because then I will go on to multiples as well, because I find that there's a bit of a difference when you do that. So let's use this Magnolias for You stamp set by Altenew. Let's try it out here first. VersaFine Black Onyx ink. So let's try it here. Now for this test, I'm not going to be putting a lot of pressure. I'm just gonna let the platform do its work. So it's okay. I mean, I could, if I'd pushed a bit harder, I probably would have gotten a perfect one. Let's try that as well. Now I'm gonna try and actually and it's much better now. So for one stamp you can easily get a perfect stamping here. Now let's try the same one in the MISTI. Let's ink it up. Now let's just try basic pressure first and see how it does if you let the platform do its own work. Well, that's not bad. It's pretty good even for a first try, and I didn't even try and put more pressure on it, so that is pretty good. The next test is to see what happens when you put multiple stamps on at the same time. So let's use the same stamp set and put a few of these flowers. And let's see how this works, right? Because I feel that it is when you're trying to do multiple stamping, that's where you can actually test it out. So let's try the multiple stamping in the MISTI. Let's ink it up. I used to be pretty scared putting a lot of pressure on this, but because I thought it was flimsy, it might break. But ever since I've gotten that as a backup, I'm a bit more bolder than the so I'm pushing, I'm kind of putting pressure, but it's pretty okay. It hasn't broken so far, so maybe I was just worried for no reason at all. Well, that's pretty good stamping. It's not bad for a first impression. Now let's try the exact same thing here Let's clean up our stamps. I just feel like I have to, I don't know why, because I know I've seen people do it and somehow they're not putting that much pressure, but I feel like I have to put a lot of pressure to get the image to kind of transfer. And even then, this part here normally does not transfer when I'm doing multiple stamps at the same time. Because for some reason there isn't a unified pressure all over the place. For some reason this part just always comes like this. So this is one problem that I personally have been having with the Tim Holtz stamp positioner, which as you can see does not come up in the MISTI. The MISTI, if you're putting pressure all over the place, it's equal pressure, it will stamp beautifully. On this, for some reason, majority of the cases, this is what happens. And I'm not talking about if I'm doing one stamp is perfectly fine, it stamps beautifully. It's only when I'm doing multiples that I have this problem, which is kind of sad because I really wanted to like this one. Because I love the fact that it's sturdy, I love the fact that it's easier to do rubber stamps on it. Just flipping it over, that I just personally prefer that over taking this out for some odd reason. And the fact that the paper can hang off the sides, I mean, what can be better than that? That's just so good. But somehow, because I normally do multiple stamps, because I want to color them out, I want to stamp them in one go, and then this somehow just doesn't work for me. This one really shines in that department. So because of that only, sadly, I have had to switch from this to this, and I am really sad because I wanted to like this, but it just won't work for multiple stamps for me. So I'm a bit stuck with that. Here you can have a closer look. See how beautifully it stamps, see the issue. Maybe there's a problem with my version, or maybe I'm doing something wrong, but for some reason this is like I've tried it a lot of times, and somehow with this, if I want to do multiple stamps, I have to stamp like 3 to 4 times to get that perfect stamping for all of them, which just takes too much time. And with the MISTI, it's like literally one, max, if I'm not careful, 2 tries and I'm done with it. So that's something that's there. I don't know why. Oh, and another thing that I forgot to mention, which I really about the Tim Holtz one is, and let me just turn it around because I don't want the stamps coming down, that is this. There's like you can use the handle to pick it up, whereas with the MISTI, very honestly speaking, it's not that difficult to lift it up. But this is obviously just good engineering, really. So that's the thing with the Tim Holtz one, that they have actually covered a lot of issues and things that, you know, the MISTI kind of overlooked, and I really like those features. But sadly, the multiple stamping just is not working for me. I guess in comparison, I would say that both of them, for some reason, the Tim Holtz one just doesn't work for me when I'm doing multiple stamping. So for me, it's back to the MISTI for now until I can find the solution, or maybe find out if I'm doing something wrong, or maybe that's just the way it is. But in the meanwhile, if you're looking to buy one of these, I will suggest that if you can just possibly borrow from a friend, or just, you know, get one from somewhere and try out both of them at the same time, that's the best solution, because then you can actually try and see which one works for you. If not, then I hope this video has been helpful to you in choosing what features are more important to you, what works for you, what you like, what you don't like. Let me know which one you get. If you are already using one of them and your experience is different, feel free to share and comment. We'd like to see what your experience has been like, and if it's different from mine. and do like and subscribe to my channel, and happy stamping.